How would you handle it if your dog and your neighbor's dog hated each other? It's getting to the point where I have to try and decipher my neighbor's daily routine so that our dogs don't meet each other at the fence. If they do, they'll freak out, dig holes, and bloody their snouts trying to get to each other. They've never met, but they hate each other. I peek around the house. I have to go out in my pajamas to try to see if they're in the backyard. This is getting really annoying and disrupting our life. What do I do? Related. In a neighborhood, what do you do about a neighbor who refuses to leash their dog? Their dog is friendly and would never hurt a fly, but yours, when another dog approaches, resorts to barking and defending the walker. So their friendly dog is out and causing general disruption, even though they're like, our dog's friendly, it wouldn't hurt a fly. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this all boils down to neighborhood related dog stuff.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I'm going to tackle that second one first, because we have in our neighborhood a few walkers with dogs who don't use leashes. I myself am not a dog owner. I used to be. But it's never bothered me. And it's because like the dogs aren't going to hurt me or my kids, and the kids love these dogs when they come up to them. But I feel like if you're going to be walking your dog without a leash, I understand it. I get it. I can even be supportive of it as long as you're confident that the dog obviously isn't going to jet out into traffic. And as long as you're confident that the dog is going to come to you and your side and stay there when you tell it to. That's the second thing.
Yeah.
So if your dog is approaching another dog, that's fine. But if you see the other dog starting to get nervous or whatever, you call your dog back and he'll come back.
Yeah.
If you can't trust your dog to come back, then your dog, I think, should be on a leash.
Yeah. So there have been, in the last 2 months, and I told this story on the podcast, there have been 3 dog-related issues on our dead end just in the last handful of months. And all of them started with an unleashed dog, or one that got out of the house. So that one was, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. But some new, very, very sweet people just moved in. They're super nice, and their dog is like the sweetest, most loving, bouncy, happy, just a wagon puppy. But one of our dogs, Scarlet, is defensive, especially of my daughters if they're walking her, and doesn't do well with other dogs at all. So that dog, while I know it would never hurt the kids, our dog, hair on her back will stand up and she gets gnarly. And what do dogs do when one escalates it? It's just gonna, they read off of each other. And so it's like, hey, it's like Dylan saying turn signals aren't for you to know where you're going. They're for other people. It feels similar to that. It's like, I don't care that your dog's nice. It's causing mine to freak out because yours won't stay in its yard. And so mine is naturally thinking when it runs into my yard that it's encroaching upon our situation in our territory. So it's going to defend its yard and its owner. And so that's what it is. And so it's like, hey, like you said, if you can't keep it to your yard off the leash, or know that it's going to come back to you on command, regardless of what it's tempted by, you got to leash it. But then I don't want to be the jerk that walks over and goes, hey, I know your dog is super sweet and wouldn't hurt a fly. I know you've just moved in, but we've had like 3 issues in this little dead end with unleashed dogs. Can you so what am I supposed to do? I so empathize with this person's question. How do you handle that? Like, you don't want to be the guy telling them what to do. They just moved in and that's going to be their first interaction with you.
Right. Make it the second or third interaction then.
There you go.
Right?
I feel like a lot of this stuff, especially because it's pets and people can get so defensive with kids and pets, I feel like a lot of it has to stick to facts. And then the part you talking through the part you can or can't control from your pet side. So what I mean by that is like, when they are out, if somebody does say, oh, my dog, we don't need a leash because whatever, and it's almost got to be like, that's so great. Just so you know, unfortunately, some of the other dogs in the neighborhood might not, even with really good dogs like yours, might not react well, and they have it in the past. We've had a few incidents, so just for your dog's safety, even though you're not concerned about it, it is something that's happened with other unleashed dogs in the neighborhood because they're maybe not as friendly.
Mhm.
And so I think you have to like totally reposition it in a way that's not an attack on them or their parenting of a dog or whatever, because it's immediately they're like, walls gonna go up.
I know.
This is the kind of neighborhood. And so, but I think if they know that, like, this has recently been an issue with other unleashed dogs, please be aware, keep your dog safe, even though it sounds super friendly. There's been issues.
Yeah, give it it's not you, it's me kind of thing. Even if you don't mean it, like you could still say something along those lines, along the lines of, hey, my dog gets skittish sometimes, and we're working on it, but she's not there yet. And so
there you go. Nicely sandwiched. You really spun that in a really positive way. That's exactly. As far as the first situation, man, I don't know. Like, do you know him well enough to just text like, hey, 7:15 a.m. we'll let our dogs out. 7:30 a.m. you let your, like, I would almost try to come up with like a regular, so that you're not second guessing and wondering and looking around the corner of your house in your pajamas and going out when it's raining and muddy to try to discern whether or not their dogs are out. Like, it's almost worth. And I wonder if like you could try to get them to meet to like destigmatize their hate for one another, but you'd have to maybe do it on neutral ground.
Exactly. That's my thought, is like anything short of like getting them to a trainer together or reading up on it and figuring out how you can socialize specifically those two dogs. Like, I think obviously that's the best answer if you can figure that out with your neighbors. But if you can't, I mean, you can't expect your neighbor to get rid of their dog. They shouldn't expect you to get rid of yours. So, I mean, if you don't want bloody noses and holes by your fence, then the only thing to do is either, try a leash instead of just trusting your fence, or make a schedule, or just keep peeking outside. And sometimes, unfortunately, having a pet means that it's going to affect your lifestyle. So you might have to just put up with it.
I feel like the better the relationship, or the longer you've known them, the more you can say like, hey, we both know this is a thing, right? So let me accommodate your schedule. When do you typically let your dog out? I'll just let mine out 15 minutes before or after, and just, I'm willing to accommodate. I work from home, or, I can do them at an earlier time. And so it's not an issue. I think that conversation is much easier the longer you've known somebody.
And there will always be the occasional, like, hey, we let them out at this obscure time that doesn't normally happen, and you happen to do the same, and all good. But for the most part, in general, I think you could stick to like a schedule like that.